On top of a flat roof in Texas, Chris Kyle squints down a long rifle barrel, not for sport, but because he believes if somebody's aiming at his brothers, he wants to be the one to stop it. That simple, stubborn belief, protect your own at any cost, drives everything in this story. Chris grows up in a small Texas town, the kind of place where you learn to ride, shoot, and fix things before you learn algebra. He's reared on hard work and a straight line about right and wrong, good folks, bad folks, and a duty to protect the former from the latter. As a young man, he's calm, steady, and useful with a rifle. Marksmanship isn't a hobby so much as a muscle memory passed down from his dad and sharpened through hunts and farms. That down-home, no-nonsense Texan voice carries him into the Navy, where he doesn't go for glory, but because he thinks being a SEAL is the best way to keep people safe. He wants to be there when the bullets fly. Training grinds him down and builds him up at once. The film shows the brutal, unglamorous work behind becoming a SEAL. Freezing swims, obstacle courses, long nights, and the psychological thinning that separates those who'll stay from the ones who quit. Chris isn't just tough, he's methodical. He's not thrilled by attention, but the skills he brings, focus, patience, a sniper's mind, make him someone commanders begin to rely on. Along the way, he meets a woman, Taya, whose steady humor and warmth become his anchor. Their courtship is plain-spoken and affectionate. She sees the man behind the stoicism, and he finds a home life that's quiet and real, which both comforts and tugs at him once deployments start. When he ships out to Iraq, the movie drops you into chaos without pretense. Streets that might have had children playing are tense labyrinths. Every doorway could hide a shooter. Chris is there to do one thing: keep ground troops and civilians safe by removing the most immediate threats. Early on, that mission is beautifully simple in concept and horrifying in reality. A sniper's world is about time, waiting until the split second to breathe, to squeeze, to change things for dozens of people at once. He learns quickly that each deliberate pull of the trigger is a moral avalanche. Some guys are insurgents, some are men with guns, some are confusing silhouettes in an urban environment. The film leans into that moral fog. Chris doesn't romanticize killing, but he does rationalize it. He's not there to pass judgment on a civilization. He's there to stop someone from shooting his friends. The battlefield scenes are taut and precise. You feel the tempo of warfare: reconnaissance, crawling up a roof, the tight horizontal conversations in a vehicle, and the long, lonely moments with a scope fixed on a street. Time stretches. A single engagement might mean saving an entire convoy. Chris keeps a running tally in his head and, for a while, in a notebook. Each confirmed kill an item on a ledger that will, in the public's imagination, turn him into a hero and, in some people's eyes, a lightning rod. His accuracy and calm under fire earn him nicknames, the Legend, and other not always flattering epithets, and he becomes famous back home, even once he's only a phone call away. Fame changes the geometry of his life without asking permission. He's still the same man under the helmet, but the world starts to see him as a symbol: protector, patriot, instrument. Interspersed with the frontline intensity are quieter, domestic scenes that make his choices feel real and costly. Chris's relationship with Taya is the emotional core. Their talks are sometimes funny, she teases him about his Texas bluntness, and sometimes painfully simple. She worries, he promises he'll come back, and then he goes back anyway. The film emphasizes how routine family life and combat life don't fit into the same room. Home has baby bottles and laundry. Iraq has sand and the hum of distant gunfire. Chris tries to be a father while also being a soldier, and the strain is constant. When he's home, he can't sleep. When he's at war, he's always scanning the horizon for danger. The audience feels his dislocation, how an ordinary conversation at the breakfast table can suddenly be punctuated by a military reflex. One of the movie's more human beats is how Chris measures success. Early on, he's idealistic. You save one life, you've done your job. But the more he sees, the more the math of war haunts him. He watches friends and fellow SEALs get killed, and every casualty is a fresh reason to go back out there. There's a particular sting when a colleague dies in the line of duty. Chris internalizes those losses as deeply personal failures, even when logic says he couldn't have stopped everything. That grief pushes him to take riskier positions for better vantage points, to push himself beyond what's sane because the stakes, his mates' lives, feel endlessly high. The film never pretends this is noble in a clean, cinematic way. It shows the cost, insomnia, rage, and a slow distancing from the life he left behind. Back in Iraq, the missions become more complex. Urban warfare forces Chris into close-range moral negotiations. Is a boy who looks like a threat an actual insurgent? The rules of engagement are part of the tension. There are scenes where he must verify targets, moments where hesitation could be disaster, and moments where a split-second choice saves his team. He encounters the blurred human milieu of war, women wailing at checkpoints, men bargaining for safety, and children who, heartbreakingly, become echoes of what he fights for. With each patrol, his reputation grows. With it, the pressure to be perfect. Local rumors and media attention turn a sniper into a myth, and that mythology attracts both gratitude and hatred. Some say he's a hero, others demonize him. He keeps doing the job because at its core, he believes a precise surgical intervention, one bullet at the right time, can prevent larger tragedies. The film never pretends this is noble in a clean cinematic way. It shows the cost. There are operations where a single well-placed shot spares an entire unit, and there are rescue missions that look like last-ditch, cinematic, flea-bitten hope. There's a particular assault sequence where his marksmanship changes the outcome for a stranded soldier. Those are the scenes where the film makes the moral calculus almost palpable. The sniper's bullet is ugly, but it keeps more people alive. He's celebrated, decorated, and his medals arrive like heavy, complicated ornaments that don't fit his hands. Eventually, the war takes its toll beyond the obvious. Returning home should be restorative, but for Chris, it's disorienting. He can't turn his radar off. He checks doors, he reacts to harmless sounds like sirens as if they're threats, and he clings tighter to the idea that being somewhere among other shooters is the only place he feels in control. He knows intellectually that the battlefield isn't his normal life, and he wants to stay with his family, to raise his kids and be present, but the old pattern repeats. Every time something happens in Iraq, an attack, a comrade killed, he goes back. War becomes a habit, and also a prison. Taya tries to bridge the distance, trying to be patient and brave, but the script gives real weight to how spouses of soldiers bear a special kind of loneliness and courage. Their arguments are sometimes dryly comic, sometimes raw, but always human. They're not cinematic heroisms, they're people trying to make a marriage survive extraordinary strain. One of the film's more uncomfortable ideas is how Chris starts to justify a return to combat as a moral imperative. He doesn't seek pain for himself, but he feels responsible. If he doesn't go, others might die. That sense of duty compels him to take more deployments, and with each, the line between home and heroism blurs further. He gets comfortable being recognized in airports and on television, and fame becomes both a burden and a balm. People thank him in ways that don't quite fix the grief running through him. The film resists simplifying him into either saint or monster. He's stubborn and compassionate in uneven measures, and the audience is asked to bear witness to both. The final act of the movie leans into the long-term consequences. Chris returns from service and tries to find some normalcy. Coaching, small-town errands, ordinary days that should, in theory, heal the worst parts. Instead, he's haunted by hypervigilance, an instinct that once saved lives and now makes home life fraught. There are moments with his children, simple, tender, that reveal what he'll lose if he keeps going. It's a bittersweet portrait. A man who saved many, but whose soul bears small, accruing fractures. The film doesn't moralize, it records. It shows a man loved by his family and celebrated by a nation who nonetheless struggles to belong to the quiet world he fought for. The ending lands somewhere between reverence and tragedy. Without gratuitous spectacle, the movie shows the human consequence of living between two worlds. It closes on the note that Chris's life, one defined by rifle scopes and a code to protect others, was finite and complicated. The film adds an epilogue of sorts that reminds the audience he was a real person who returned home and tried to be a husband and father. That echo, more than any battlefield applause, is what lingers, a portrait of a man who did a ghastly specific job and came home to the domestic tasks of being human, which proved in many ways harder than the missions he completed. Throughout, the film balances tension and tenderness. It's not trying to simplify politics into neat sound bites. Instead, it focuses on a central figure who embodies contradictions: brave but broken, a protector who inflicts lethal force, and a public symbol with private wounds. There's dry humor, too. Small Texasisms, a wife's cutting rejoinders, a soldier's homespun aphorisms that humanize him and stop the movie from becoming a shrine. Those bits matter because they let you see Chris as a person, not merely a headline. If the film leaves you unsettled, that's intentional. It's asking you to hold conflicting feelings at once: admiration for the devotion to comrades, sorrow for the toll that devotion takes, and discomfort at the machinery that rewards lethal effectiveness without always accounting for the human wreckage afterward. Your